Welcome to my series on spicing up your quarantine cooking with extra pantry staples and spices. I thought I should give you a little bit of background on myself. I love to cook, and I've always kept a fairly well-stocked pantry, but I was formerly married to an Anglo-Indian man who immigrated to go to UK for college and then ended up staying. And while we were married, I learned to cook a ton of Asian-inspired recipes with spices that you may not commonly keep in your pantry. And so when we were all sent to work from home, I thought that it would be a great idea to pass on some of my tips and show you what I keep in my pantry so that you can hopefully go to the grocery store a little bit less often, but still enjoy tasty and unusual food to spice up your boring pantry dry goods so that we can all eat well and enjoy meals with our family and stay healthy while we're stuck at home due to the coronavirus. So first I thought I'll take you on a tour of my pantry, and then I will separately record a couple of recipes that you might enjoy making. So thanks, I hope you'll enjoy watching. Hi, so first I thought we would go through a couple of the things that I commonly keep in my pantry, and I have compiled a document that I will send out with Amazon links to all the spices and dry goods that I have that you may not have in your pantry, just to make it easier so that you can find them without having to go searching in person. So if you cook a lot of Mexican or Tex-Mex at home, you probably already have cumin, probably cinnamon, coriander, and chili powder, and also probably bay leaves that you use for your cooking at home. But the less familiar spices that you may not have are cardamom powder, garam masala, turmeric, and I typically substitute Kashmiri chili powder, which is a lovely bright red chili powder, for American style chili powder. But American style chili powder is typically fine for cooking in Indian recipes. But turmeric, which is a ground root powder, is really a you can't miss it ingredient. It's in almost any Indian recipe. Garam masala is actually a powdered spice blend that you can make at home yourself with ingredients, or you can buy it. I typically buy it just because it's easier. But the one spice that is in garam masala that you probably don't have at home and that is also used by itself in recipes is cardamom powder. Less often I use curry powder, which is typically not super often seen, and also star anise, which is a dried spice that is used in a lot of Chinese and Indonesian recipes as well. Also in Indian and other Asian cooking, you will almost always find either garlic or ginger or both together. So this is whole ginger. I am lazy and pressed for time, and so I typically buy garlic in a jar, although cooking purists will shoot me for it, but it's easy. But also, you can find garlic ginger paste in a jar. It is totally not necessary to have, but it does save a step if you have it. And you'll need a cooking oil. Ghee is made from clarified butter, and it's very typical of Indian recipes, but you can use oil, or you can use any cooking oil, or you can use butter or coconut oil. All of those are fine. So moving on to what I would use if I cooked another East Asian recipe. If I was going to cook a Chinese recipe or an Indonesian recipe or a Thai recipe, most people I think will have soy sauce in their pantry, but I always keep some. You may have sriracha or sambal olek, which is sometimes called chili garlic sauce. Either of the two is fine. What you may not have is fish sauce. Fish sauce is typically used in Thai and Vietnamese cooking, and sesame oil, which you will find in Chinese cooking and in Korean cooking and lots of other Asian regionalities, but I typically always keep those wet ingredients in my pantry. And so for my pantry dry goods, I pretty much always keep around some form of lentils. These actually came from Kroger, and they're just basic red lentils. These are mung bean lentils. If you go to an Indian grocery store, they will have a dozen different kinds, but they are relatively interchangeable, and you can very simply make an easy vegetarian meal with them. Also, I cook with a ton of chickpeas, which you will sometimes find sold as garbanzo beans, and diced tomatoes rather than fresh tomatoes are much easier to keep than fresh tomatoes, and are used in a ton of Indian recipes, and can't go anywhere without onions and potatoes. I also typically keep a fairly large selection of Asian noodles on hand, but whatever you can find is fine. These are pad thai style noodles. These are Korean wheat noodles, and these are vermicelli rice noodles. I think I got these at Kroger, and they are gluten-free, although they are very thin. And I always keep at least several kinds of rice on hand. I typically keep a short grain rice and a basmati rice on hand as well. So I also always keep rice on hand, and for simplicity's sake, there are dozens of different varieties of Asian rice, but for simplicity's sake, I typically only keep two forms on hand. One is a short grain Japanese or Chinese style rice. This is actually California grown. It's quite short and gets very sticky when it's cooked. And then I typically keep Indian style basmati rice, and you can see that's the brand I currently have. And basmati rice is very long grained and tends to keep its definition really well when it's cooked.